Yeah.
You can debate it all you want, but the New York Jets won the NFL draft. Some may say it was the Giants, some may say it was the Ravens, but to me it is absolutely clear that the Jets dominated this draft in Las Vegas. And a team that has been a laughingstock in the NFL for over the last decade may soon find themselves as a perennial playoff contender with the picks that they just selected. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys, here to break down how the Jets won the draft, breaking down each of their picks, how they may affect the team going into this upcoming season, how they're going to affect the franchise going forward, and what the Jets can do to become a contender, not just in the AFC East, but in the NFL as a whole. But before we do that, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. We've got so much content left for you over the next few months before we finally jump back in to our game-by-game predictions, and we want you to be a part of that ride and a part of our Gridiron Expert team. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, and leave your comments below and tell us who you thought the winner of the NFL draft was. So we take a look at New York, guys. Again, this is a team that last year, as we mentioned in our mock drafts, finished 2021 last in the NFL in points allowed, last in the NFL in yards allowed. They were horrendous. They showed flashes of brilliance every now and then. They've got a young quarterback in Zach Wilson. Their leading wide receiver was Elijah Moore, who was also a rookie. They've got talent there in New York. It's a very young team. Brand new head coach, Robert Saleh. This is a team that, again, is young, and they're building. And they just had a bunch of cornerstones drafted to them this last week. We take a look at it, guys. The first pick was Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. First round, fourth pick in the draft, but Gardner was the second cornerback selected. The Texans took Derek Stingley at third, and I strongly disagreed with that. We actually predicted Gardner to go to the Jets. It's exactly where he needs to be. He can be the next Darrelle Revis in New York. 68 tackles, 16 passes defended, 9 interceptions, 3.5 sacks during his time at Cincinnati. He, to me, was the number one cornerback in this draft. And again, for a team that was last in points, last in yards, had a horrendous defense, he's going to be the anchor for this defense going forward. I believe he is the real deal, and I think that the Jets honestly got very lucky that the Texans took Stingley instead of Gardner at number 3. A few picks later, the Jets took Garrett Wilson at wide receiver right out of Ohio State. Had 1,058 yards on 70 receptions, 12 touchdowns during his time with the Buckeyes. We had Garrett Wilson as our number one wide receiver in the draft, yet he still was not the number one wide receiver taken. Drake London was, just a few picks prior. So Drake London was selected as the top wide receiver, so Garrett Wilson fell into New York's lap at the 10th pick. 2 top 10 picks, and they got arguably the top cornerback in the draft and the top wide receiver in the draft. You now pair Garrett Wilson, who has a great frame, great speed, great hands, has the ability to win those 50-50 balls. You pair him up with Elijah Moore. You pair him up with Zach Wilson. And now you pair him up with Breece Hall as well. We're going to come back to Jermaine Johnson. We're focusing on the offense now, but let's talk about Breece Hall, the second round pick, 36 overall. You've got a star quarterback now, Zach Wilson, is going to show promise. You've got a top wide receiver potentially in Garrett Wilson. Load yourself up on defense. Breece Hall comes in at running back, who had rushed for over 1,400 yards in each of his last 2 seasons at Iowa State. 56 total touchdowns during his time with the Cyclones, and now he's paired with a young running back in Michael Carter, giving the Jets a 1-2 punch at the running back position to complement what should be an improving passing game in 2022. Loaded themselves up on the offensive side of the ball, and that's just a couple picks. Going back to the first round, Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher out of Florida State. The Jets got aggressive. They were only supposed to pick at 4 and 10, and yet they traded up in the draft to get Jermaine Johnson with a 26th pick in the first round, a guy who had 11.5 sacks in 2021 with the Seminoles, a guy who had 17.5 tackles for a loss and 70 tackles as a whole. We talked about how this edge rushing class was so deep in this draft. We talked about all the guys. Trayvon Walker was up there. You had Aiden Hutchinson up there. But those guys were taken 1 and 2 in the draft. And a lot of people knew Jermaine Johnson was going to probably get selected in the first round, but we said we felt like he was an underrated player, underrated guy that people maybe weren't paying as much attention to as they should. And the Jets recognized that, snatched him away, and again, a defense that was one of the worst in the NFL last year now got immediate help in the secondary and immediate help up front on that defensive line. A phenomenal pick. Unbelievable job of the Jets to get aggressive, trading up for Johnson and also trading up for Breece Hall, as we just mentioned. They took in the third round Jeremy Ruckert, the tight end out of Ohio State. A lot of people say the Jets didn't need a tight end, but to me that just gives the team more depth, gives them a little bit more size, and who says Ruckert has to be solely a pass catcher, right? Send him out there to be a little bit more of a blocker, help out that run game with Michael Carter and Breece Hall, maybe give Zach Wilson a little bit more protection to hit their new wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. They bulked up the offensive line as well. They addressed the defensive line, they addressed the offensive line. They got Max Mitchell in the 4th round, 111th pick overall. Many people would say, who cares? Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, not that big a deal. It's a big deal when you realize that the offensive tackle was named the highest graded tackle in the nation by Pro Football Focus. A guy that in 859 snaps at right tackle allowed just 13 pressures. And the Jets' offensive line, they weren't entirely great last year. So to me, the Jets got an absolute steal in the 4th round, taking a guy that was one of the best tackles in this draft. Yes, he wasn't getting enough attention on that offensive line as guys like, Evan Neal and Ike Mekwonu and guys like that were selected earlier in the 1st round. Charles Cross, guys like that. But Max Mitchell, to me, was a steal. Great size, great protection, and with a little time, might be one of the better offensive linemen in this league. And the Jets wrapped up their draft in the 4th round. Let's keep that in mind. They only took 7 picks, and they were done early on Saturday. Didn't have a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, or a 7th round pick. But they wrapped up their draft by drafting defensive end Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M, a guy who had 23 tackles, 11 tackles for a loss, 7 sacks during his time at A&M just last year, just in 2021 alone. Add some extra defensive line depth, can put him up there alongside Jermaine Johnson and the rest of that defensive line that the Jets have. Again, they did a great job balancing this draft, addressing their needs on offense, drafting a wide receiver, a running back, a tight end, and an offensive tackle. And they got 3 key defensive players in Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Michael Clemens. The Jets, again, guys, absolutely killed it. Every single one of these players is a winner. We saw a lot of questionable draft picks out there, and even a few within their own division by the New England Patriots. Taking some questionable guys here and there. People gave the Patriots about a C or C plus when it comes to the draft. And the Jets were in an AFC East division with the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Bills that is drastically improving. Criticize Bill Belichick and the Patriots all you want. They were still a playoff team last year, still have a young quarterback in Mac Jones, and still have dominated the Jets for about the last decade. The Dolphins added Tyreek Hill in free agency, had Jalen Waddle, needed a little help at quarterback with Tua Tagovailoa, but overall looked pretty solid. And the Bills have won the division the last few years. Great quarterback in Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs at wide receiver, loaded defense. Sean McDermott continuing to do a great job there and has the Bills in the spot to maybe get to the Super Bowl. The Jets had to get with the program, and they did that in this draft. A phenomenal job of the Jets front office. And this Jets team, guys, is going to quickly, I believe, start to turn some heads within the league. Now, here's the thing. We've said the Jets have been a laughingstock in the NFL for the last 10 years, and that's true. Since 2003, the Jets have had a top 10 pick 10 times. Since 2003, the Jets have had 10 top 10 picks. Just normal. Since 2003, they've had 4 times in that span. 4 times since 2003, they've had at least 2 picks in the first round. At least 2 picks in the first round. So let's keep that in mind. Just because, the Jets loaded up here doesn't mean they're going to become Super Bowl contenders like that. Doesn't mean they're going to be elite like that. We've seen this story before where these bad teams get a great player, everybody thinks they're going to turn around, and they don't. And look at the Browns. It took them a long time to finally turn that corner. Same can be said for the Jets. This is a team, guys, that since 2003, despite all the first-round picks they've selected, that since 2003 has made 4 playoff appearances. Just 4. 4 playoff appearances in nearly 20 years, their last playoff appearance coming all the way back in 2010. It's going to take a lot. The NFL as a whole is improving. The AFC East, the division the Jets are in, is improving. It's a long way to the top. But this is the Jets team that is loaded with young talent, and that is how you build in the NFL. You load up on the young talent, you develop them, and you turn them into a powerhouse. And right now, with the way the Jets just drafted, better than anybody else in this NFL draft, in a few years, you could be looking at the next powerhouse. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Let us know who you thought won the NFL draft last week. Was it the Jets? If it was somebody else, leave your comments below. We want to hear from you. But please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, become a part of our team here at the Gridiron Expert so you don't miss out on any of the football content we have for you the rest of the year. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.